Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. Yesterday we had a great episode, and today we're just going to continue with the momentum. We get a chance to have a conversation with Brittany, Community Engagement Manager for United Way of Treasure Valley, or Treasure Valley United Way. Either way, I had it right the first time.
You did.
See, I told you were going to get a chance to correct me, and here we are.
So fast.
I am right so often on this show. Oh, no, I'm not. But a couple of things before we get started. As always, huge shout out and thank you and love you long time to Argos Productions, the team of Justin and Erica for allowing me to be here in their studio, in their wonderful space, and get to have impactful conversations with not only centers of influence, but business owners throughout the valley and the rest of the state. Love you long time, Idaho. Another thing to highlight that I cannot believe I have yet to highlight before, can't speak English. You guys are just going to have to deal with it. You have been dealing with it for years.
For a long time.
For a very, very long time. But if you guys look back here, we got our Roads to Bogus t-shirts, okay? If you were joining us when I started the watch party, there was a couple of segments, not segments, what do we call them? No, they're not commercials, they're the promos.
It's actually an I-48 film.
Right. So there was the promo for the film. It's an I-40 film, and Erica has just worked tremendously along with Justin on this wonderful, awesome project. Check it out, Roads to Bogus, and the t-shirts are also for sale. We should put a link or some sort of thing for that, but let's do it.
On the website.
I will make sure that I was going to say pimping those out. Are we allowed to say that? It's my show. I'm pimping those out. Okay. And then, as usual, we're always highlighting, beer makers, cider makers, and wine makers at the local level. Today, we get to drink delicious City of Good India Pale Ale.
Do a Vanna White thing.
Yeah, you're very good at that. You're so classy, too. Like, Heather showed up dressed up, you showed up dressed up, and I'm wearing, like, last night's clothes. Thank you so much for coming. But no, this is really cool. So this is from Lost Grove Brewing, and then the City of Good beer, it's the net proceeds benefit City of Good, an initiative by Boise businesses and civic organizations to feed our community and put people back to work during the COVID-19 crisis. So check out City of Good, check out Lost Grove. Thank you guys for everything that you do. And you just did an amazing, perfect pour.
Not my first time.
Not your first time. I was just going to say, I was nervous because it's not wine, and I didn't bring you wine.
That's okay. I will happily drink a beer in support of Lost Grove.
Awesome sauce. All right, Brittany. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I know you got better things to do, like hanging out with your beautiful family, your handsome husband. What up, Chris? He's a handsome fellow.
He's a good-looking man.
He's a good-looking man.
Scored.
Not nearly as good-looking as me, but he's a good-looking man.
I will cheers.
Cheers, friend. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Your pour was better than mine, but that's not here nor there.
I wasn't going to point it out.
Brittany, has been a hot minute
Yeah.
since we have known each other, and also since we got into hang out, because we're practicing as best we can some responsible physical distancing. Thank you again. Let's go back a little bit. You and I know each other from our days in Boise High, class of '98.
Yep.
Heather says hello. She was here with us yesterday talking about the Peregrine Fund, and all the work that she does with the World Center of Birds of Prey here in Idaho. And you, my awesome sauce friend, do a great deal of work with the United Way.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I want to talk about that journey. I want to talk about, what was it that, that led you to that direction, and what were you doing prior to? Because we were going to school, being kids, living that 1998 life, and then all of a sudden we all went our separate ways. Where did you go?
Well, I stuck around here, and I went to Boise State. I was on the 6-year plan. I'm not a doctor. Took me a while to kind of get my head on straight. But yeah, I stuck around here. And I originally thought I was going to be some sort of thespian, and I was going after my theater degree, and then I realized I'm not a very good actor. So I kind of thought maybe I shouldn't do that. I also was starting to really question, how am I going to make money with a theater degree? I know very few people that I was involved with at Boise State who moved on with a theater degree and actually did something with their lives. I literally can think of 2 people. So maybe I'm not in touch with the right ones, but and then her.
And Erica.
Yeah. So I switched my degree into something very generic, communications. I do that now with work, but I chose that because it was broad enough to encompass a lot of different opportunities. I wasn't going to hone myself in on one thing and then have to stick with that for the rest of my life. And sometimes I don't know if that was the right choice or not, but it's worked out for me. So.
You know, I think some things are meant to be, not everything, but you communicate well, and you're very, very good. You're very good at what you do.
Well, thank you.
I just got way too much sleep last night, so I'm like,
I don't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah, my brain's like, slow down. My mouth's like, oh. Anyway, so you're going to school for communications, and then you graduate, and then you do what?
So I got into, my first job out of college, I worked for an ad agency. It was pretty short-lived. I just did the front desk, but it was my very first real 9-to-5, had to be at work, had to take a lunch break, had actual responsibilities, was paying my rent. So that was my first kind of like grown-up situation. After that, I worked at Pioneer Title. I really quickly moved from the front desk into being an escrow assistant, into being a disbursements manager. And then I met my daughter's dad and kind of went down that whole whirlwind path. I lived in Reno for a year, decided Boise's so much better, came back to Boise.
Shout out to Reno.
Yeah. I did the whole get married, buy a house, have a baby thing. And then in 2013, that kind of all fell apart for me. So I ended up being a single mom, had come out of a pretty rough relationship. And there was this moment where I just really realized that I needed to sort of shift my expectations and perspective, because I think I had gone into my first marriage thinking, oh, I have this man and we're going to support each other and we're going to make all this money and we're going to just live the life that you see everyone living, and that didn't happen. And I realized that I needed to do this on my own. I really needed to find a way to support my daughter without having to rely on anybody else. And I'm really fortunate that I have the most incredible family and friends. I had just an immense amount of support around me. And I slowly began digging myself out of this emotional, financial hole that I was in 2013. And I dove headfirst into a job that I was at for a month, making $10 an hour with a college degree. But, I had a baby at home and that's what I needed to do. So I did that. And then a month later, an opportunity came up. I had been working part-time in radio. So I feel like I need to rewind here a little bit because I skipped over something kind of important, and I know you want me to talk about it.
I do, because it's so cool. I was going to bring it up. You tell your story the way you want to tell it.
Okay.
And then I just go ahead and ask the questions later. It's no big deal.
So in a former life, I was a DJ, and I realized that I looked like a kindergarten teacher, but I was actually a DJ. And so my first year of being a DJ was on a hip hop station in Reno. And my first week on the job, I was going by Abby. And then I was like, this is so confusing. No one knew what to call me. So I just switched to Britt. Because at the time, Brittany Spears was in the throes of her epic meltdown. And I didn't want to be associated with Brittany Spears because my name's Brittany. So I just went by Britt. And that really stuck. So then when I came back to Boise, there was a position open doing nights on 100.3 The X. So I snatched that up, and for 5 years, during all of the stuff that I've been talking about, I was the night girl on, their night jock, on 100.3 The X. So I'm working this property management job for a month that I'm making $10 an hour. And the radio station calls and says, we have something full-time. And it was a traffic reporter position. And it was split shift. So I'd go in at 6 a.m., I'd leave about 10:30, I'd go home, take a nap, see my baby, do some housework.
Right.
I'd go back and work from about 3 to 6. And I did that for a year. And as much as I loved that, I also stayed on the X at that time. I was doing Saturdays. And as much as I loved being on the radio, and radio family, anyone who's worked in radio knows radio people become a family you can never get rid of. They just stay with you forever. And I'm still tight with a lot of those people. But I just knew that there was nowhere for me to go.
Right.
Financially or career-wise, it was all going to be just lateral movements, and I, have always just needed and wanted to take care of my daughter the best that I can. So I made the very difficult decision to leave a job I loved so much. Oh, I loved that job so much. It was so hard to go. But I ended up in marketing, and I bounced around a little bit in a couple different marketing positions. And then my wonderful friend, Dan McCauley, over at the radio station, right now it's owned by Lotus. At the time it was Journal, then it became Scripps. Radio likes to change a lot. He had heard of a position open at Unitedway, and he had recommended me for the job, and I applied. And within a matter of weeks, I got that job. And I should mention that between the marketing and between Unitedway, there was a stint where I worked as kind of like a divorce counselor. I worked for a company who did online amicable divorce, and I counseled about 1,000 families through their amicable divorces, trying to help them. Now, I wasn't giving legal advice. It was just kind of really how to work the software and recommendations, just based on my own personal experience and what I was dealing with so many hundreds of families. But at one point I had given the most, I think we had phrased it like it was the most divorce, we're not calling it counseling sessions, but anyway, just talking people through what their options were before they had made a decision on how they were going to move forward with the parting of their families. So that was a really interesting time as well. It was, I loved that job as well. But again, I kind of needed to move forward with something that was more sustainable and had more room to grow. And so fortunately, I landed at Unitedway.
My lady.
That was a long story.
Cheers for kicking the patriarchy right on the effing nuts and showing the world that you can do it all yourself.
Yeah,
and of course, never alone, always with the help and support of your community, whether it's friends, family, but at the end of the day, kudos on you for stepping up for yourself and finding that power and just pushing through.
I always wanted to show my daughter strength and that woman power thing, and I needed for myself, but for her as well. I needed to really do some things on my own and know that I was a completely self-sustaining unit. And I did reach that goal. I was no longer needing help from anyone. I no longer needed to work side hustles or side jobs or little night things to fill in the gaps. So that was a big accomplishment, and I hope that when she grows up, I hope she remembers that I was able to model some independence and some strength for her.
Absolutely, so. And you're doing it right now. You'll continue to do it. I mean, and you did what you had to. I love the way that you phrased that, because you have to take the $10 an hour job, and that's what you do.
That's what you do. You just take it.
Go home and take the nap, and then get out there to the radio and do your thing, and then that's what you do.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And I'm glad that you brought up, the amicable divorce assessment.
It is possible. I know it doesn't seem like it is, but it is.
It is most certainly possible. Because I was going to go down that route too. Because if you remember, when that office opened, I came and visited you there, and we were having these conversations. You've been divorced, I've been divorced. Like a lot of, it's not like a conversation starter, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, you had a life before your current life. Like, I know, right? Who would have thought? And to have the ability to help people to navigate through what is usually is usually perceived as a very nasty, very difficult, and at many times unfair time, in your life, to have the ability to be able to rely on somebody such as yourself and the team that you work with and work for. That was a big deal. I really I really wanted that to work.
Yeah, most of us do.
Yeah.
And the other person kind of gets in the way, which is sort of the reason for the divorce in the first
Right. He's just like, oh gosh. And,
Yeah.
because I remember showing up and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you imagine, like, just not the financial aspect of things, because you have you have a combined income, and then all of a sudden you become a one income,
A one income and double the expenses.
and double the expenses.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think nor plan for that because you never think that you're going to get married with the expectation of getting a divorce, whether it's like a year later or 50 years later.
Yeah.
And not having something in place in order to ensure your independence, in which allows to maintain your lifestyle and your quality of life. It's anyways, it's a big deal, and I was pretty stoked when that opened. And you didn't mention the name, so I didn't mention the name.
Yeah, we
Good.
won't.
Okay, all right. So we'll just leave it at that. And, and anybody that's watching that could be privy to that, it is what it is. It was a great space. I love the concept. I love the idea.
Yeah, I do too. And it was really interesting. I had so many clients, and I would get close with them because we're talking about some of the most personal.
How could you not?
I knew their finances. I knew their children's names. I knew their social security numbers. Like, I knew everything about them.
Yeah.
And so we would get into these conversations, and I would more typically get closer with the women than the men, but I would often ask them, like, why are you guys getting divorced? Because they were so amicable.
Right.
I couldn't believe they couldn't work it out, but people get married for all sorts of reasons, and you never really know what's going on behind closed doors. And it was a really huge honor, I guess, is a good way to put it, to be holding people's hands through what is arguably one of the most difficult things you could ever go through, no matter how amicable it is.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's such thing as a painless divorce, but I hope that the process with me made it a little less painful for them. So I was really honored to work with all those people, and I think of some of those clients to this day. It's been a long time, but I still think of them and hope they're doing well. So.
There's something to be said about doing impactful work, all right? And not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah.
So a lot of us do what we have to. Okay, you work with a property management company. Some of my experience, I didn't go into the weeds when I was having the conversation, the episode we did with Victor from the Idaho Latino Scholarship Fund, but like the number of jobs that I did, as an undocumented immigrant back in the day, and people didn't know about that. And it's not something that I talked about. And then they say, well, what do you do with your summer? Oh, we were in McCall at the cabin. It was rad. Why didn't you come? Well, sorry, man. I was cleaning the shitters over at the freaking horse races, and then I was doing landscaping during the day. Boom! Yeah. That Latino life, the undocumented Latino life, and but you do what you have to in order to achieve your goals and your dreams and whatever it is that you need to do. And I think it's cool that you have that aspect of you which is so compassionate because you continue to serve the community, and this time through Unitedwaytw Treasure Valley.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted this job, and I was so. I still feel so lucky to have gotten it because I know there were other candidates that were being highly considered. I just feel so lucky and grateful that I got it, and the opportunity to serve, the opportunity to do something important, the opportunity to leave a lasting impact, whether it's on one person or a million people. That's always been something that I've really wanted to do, and so I'm so lucky that I'm with an organization that we do that every day. And I could not do it without all the people we've got a team of about 15. Everyone plays such a vital role because we're such a small team.
Right.
But it really is, at the end of every day, I feel really good about what we're doing. And that's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's not everybody gets to get out of bed and look in the mirror and say, "You're awesome."
Yeah.
Let's brush your teeth.
I don't do that.
Oh.
I wish I did that. I should do that. I know you do that.
I might have been projecting a little bit.
Guilty.
I'm not saying that I think highly of myself, but I do like me a lot.
I like you a lot too.
Oh my gosh! And now Chris is gonna kick my ass.
No, he likes you. It's okay.
Yeah, your husband is awesome. He really is.
He is. I'll keep him around.
I cannot wait. Hopefully, maybe this is the season. I don't know with COVID-19 and everything that's happening, but if we are able to get in a bow or a rifle hunt this season, that would be fantastic. Radio. You're not off the hook yet.
Okay.
So there's some people watching. There's some people that are with, perhaps transplants new to Idaho, or perhaps we have some, we are not old, but we're no spring chickens anymore.
Right.
Okay. So like
I think you're older than me, though.
would
By
you
a little
please? Okay. So anyway, so we're that Nirvana generation, and all the feelings that were coming out, and all the flannel, and all the torn jeans, which just happens to be wearing, not by fashion, but because I actually tore them doing work.
Well, they still look cool, so it
Well,
works
thank you
for
very
ya.
much. It's because I'm a walking time capsule. I know that I get it. You were doing the traffic and all that other stuff, which was always awesome because you got like an awesome voice. Beautiful on the outside, beautiful on the inside. And on top of that, the voice.
Oh my God.
And on top of that, the voice for radio.
You're so sweet. Thank you. That's nice.
Do you? Oh my gosh, rabbit hole. Do you remember yearbook?
Yes, I do.
Because you brought it up. I've forgotten about that.
Yeah.
And you told me what I wrote on
Yeah.
your yearbook. Anyways, you guys don't get to hear that. But
But one thing you may not know about Jaime that I feel like I have to share is he has the most beautiful handwriting
crap.
of anyone I have ever known. He has beautiful handwriting. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, but thank you. That was really sweet
I
of
think
you.
that's so funny though. Like what an interesting fact to know about you. And most men don't have like beautiful penmanship. And I just think it's a lost art, and I applaud you, sir.
Well, thank you. I think it's
Sorry
just.
for rabbit holing there.
Yeah,
Rabbit
no,
holing right along
we
with
rabbit
you.
hole all day long.
Yeah,
So, but you got to interview, talk to, and spend some quality time with some pretty awesome
Yeah.
recording artists
Yes.
in your time, with the X.
I did. Super lucky.
Tell us a little bit about that. And by the way, fun fact, I was trying to call Heather last night, a recording artist, and she wouldn't let me. She's a recording artist.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, Heather, she wouldn't let me. She said it's too fancy. Anyways,
She's too fancy.
shout out to Heather.
My favorite memory, my favorite story is, so Scott Weiland was coming to Boise, and every artist or band has like a writer, like their sheet of demands that they must have when they are coming to play a private show or do a thing for you. And so he had this ridiculous list of stuff that he needed, including like
Shocking.
black washcloths or black hand towels that he never used. And there was like a specific tea and lemons and like all of this random stuff. So we gathered all that up, and he came to the conference room, and there's a sound booth next to the conference room that we, pipe everything out onto the air. That's how it all gets piped out onto the air. And so Scott's in there, and I'm in there, and all of a sudden the door closes, and I'm like, I'm in this room alone with Scott Weiland. And he sits down with his guitar, so I took my cue and sat down, and he needed to warm up. And so Scott Weiland warmed up for his session with us on the X. He played Interstate Love Song. I was the only one, was literally sitting about this far from him.
Right.
And I just remembered thinking like, oh my God, I am being serenaded by Scott Weiland alone in a room. When does this ever happen? I just remembered like, it was one of those times where you're like, take a mental picture because this is incredible. I got a picture with him. I wish I had worn a little more makeup that day, but it is what it is. But he played his set, and I will never forget that. And then, of course, fast forward a few years later, and wake up one morning, check my phone, and he had passed away. And that memory has always really stuck with me because, I mean, it's freaking Scott Weiland of Stone Temple Pilots, right? Like, that's just insane. So that's my favorite story. I've met, Hailstorm and Sick Puppies and Godsmack and God, so many bands. I can't even begin to. Shinedown. Before Shinedown was really big, they came and did a barbecue in our parking lot. And I have this ridiculous picture of me like sorority posing with Brent Smith of Shinedown, and I'm like doing the sorority pose, and he's got long hair, he's still chubby, he's before they were really big. And so that it's been cool to also meet bands who we met before they became
this
their
huge success,
band, yeah.
or they had their
So,
time in the spotlight
yeah.
and whatnot. No,
Yeah.
it's
So-
just Shinedown's pretty badass.
Yeah, yeah, I love them.
And if you're watching and you don't know who Scott, was, and you have not listened to Scott Stone Temple Pilots, you do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
And that's probably a 20-year-old that is watching for like 3 seconds and then
Yeah.
just moving on. But you should check it out.
Yeah,
like,
Stone
for
Temple
real,
Pilots.
Yeah.
Classic 90s.
I'm glad you shared that because that was gonna be. I was gonna lead to.
Were you
that.
going to go to the Scott Weiland
I was
story?
gonna. Well, I was because like out of all the people,
Yeah.
because my memory, I remember like the most useless stuff, right? So like I remember like the cheat codes for like video games on like the original Nintendo, but I cannot remember like, other far more important things.
Remember your bike lock code from 7th grade.
Yeah, and then it's just like, whoa, why do I still know like the phone number for this person? Like,
Random.
but yeah, I thought it was a really cool, neat experience, and I remember, gosh, of course we're aging ourselves. I would like to think that was like a Facebook thing, and yeah, 2013. No, 2000.
It was right around that time.
Yeah.
right. I
So,
can't remember
so it was
exactly. It was
definitely not
about-
MySpace.
No.
And I remember you posting about that, and you, I mean, the way you tell the story, that's the way that you posted that, and that was,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago.
I think writing it down helped it solidify in my memory. You know
No,
what I
yeah,
mean?
but the thing is, like, I remember the picture too.
Yeah.
You posted the picture of you guys together, and then like the way that we lose like artists and like people that in that line of work and in that kind of world, which I know nothing about. It's just like, it sucked, but it was at the same time you sharing that experience was really cool.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. It's just,
So did
you're
I.
so full of stories. And that's the thing.
I
Like,
have so many.
and
Half
that's
of them aren't appropriate for this. but
right. Let's not go into that. But
I'll keep it like PG-13.
oh, look at you! Wow.
Another one of these, though, maybe we'll get to the R stuff.
I'll ask you more questions. I know what to ask.
Oh, God, yeah, you do. Scary.
Before we jump into United Way, but I just think it's really cool and it's really neat. So your dad,
Yes.
so him and I have never met. But I
Really?
think no,
That's
we've never met.
I'm sure you feel like you
it's
know
no
him.
big deal. Well, the thing is, I love the relationship that you have with your father. Like people that are really close to me, they know that I was hoping that when I had kids, I had in my own imaginary perfect world, there was going to be a little boy and a little girl, so I could get that like daddy's girl type of thing. I don't know. I have a great relationship with my goddaughter, and I just wanted to like duplicate that, but with my own flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And I have been blessed with 2 terrible children. And they're both boys, and I love them with every fiber and ounce. But
so
my
cute.
sons, they'll either lead the world or burn the world. I don't know.
It's definitely one or the other.
It's very, oh gosh, there's just no chill for those guys, and there's just no gray. So they're only 5, and my youngest is about to be 3. Anyway, enough about me. I just think it's really cool the way that whenever you're on your social media and like your dad recently retired.
He's retiring at the end of the month.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
he's retiring at the
yeah.
end of the month, and like all these accomplishments and all these
Yeah.
other things. I love that. I really, and hopefully I have that relationship with my sons. It's like I'm doing my very best, but I just like I'm trying to act like an adult. And it's really, really difficult.
It's hard.
It is it's very hard.
Nobody told us.
To do all these adulting things. Yeah, everybody tells you, oh my God, get married and have children. It's so great. I don't remember my middle name. It's like, and all the bills that come with it.
Right.
And
Not
taxes? What?
I know.
Like, yeah, future planning. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that. And then after that, I promise it's going to be United Way and United Way only.
Yeah, no, we can talk about whatever you want. Yeah, so my dad is Bob Rosenthal, and he's been kind of like a figure in the Boise area now for 41, 42 years. He started as the sports information director at Boise State, and then he moved into radio sales and has, worked his way up the ladder. Now he's the general manager of Lotus Media. So he is also, as most people know him, the voice of the Boise State Broncos. So when you go to a football game and you hear that's another Bronco, and then everyone says first down, that's my dad. So, and he is retiring. He'll keep doing football, but he's retiring from the radio gig. And I know you know that I do have such a special relationship with my dad. Everybody knows I have such a special relationship with my dad. And he, I have so many memories of times where he was, supportive and wonderful, and I just really could not have gotten through a lot of the stuff that I've gone through in my life without his support. I remember having him and my mom come to my house along with two of my best friends when I was kind of breaking down and letting them know, like, I think I need to get divorced. And my dad and I walked out with him to his car, and he just kind of put his arm around me, and he just told me it was going to be okay, and he was going to help me get through this. And I remember just like kind of collapsing into him. I was trying to stay so stoic and strong, and it's like your dad gives you that, like, it's going to be okay, I'm here for you always thing, and you just like crumble. And it's not the first time that he's literally held me up. One of my best friends died when we were 23. She passed away in a car accident. A lot of people watching may remember Jamie Sanchez. No. And, I went to her viewing prior to her funeral, and walking out of the funeral home with my dad, I literally lost myself and fell into him. I was so distraught over seeing my friend in a casket. Right. So my dad's supported me through my divorce. He's supported me through changing direction in my career. He's been so supportive of my daughter and my new marriage to Chris. And I always tell him that if my daughter Bryn feels half the way about me that I feel about him when she's an adult, I will consider myself a parenting success. That is truly how much I love and appreciate my dad. And I have to give my mom props too, because my mom is a really wonderful lady who made my childhood so magical and fun. She was like the queen of forts, and when my dad would go out of town, it was like nobody has to make their beds, and we'd have breakfast for dinner, and she did so many fun things with us. But as an adult, I think a lot of it due to working and parenting and all these things, I've just become really close with my dad, and I just value his advice. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who doesn't love him. And whenever I'm in a trial or a tribulation or trying to figure out what the hell to do, I do tend to fall back to the, what would my dad do? How would he handle this? And when I'm trying to figure somebody out, I ask myself, would my dad do that? Would my dad say that? Would my dad treat someone that way? And a lot of the time that really does help me kind of figure out my own thoughts and kind of dig through the weeds and figure out the right thing or the right way to move forward is really by leaning on the example that he set. So I'm a very, very lucky person in that I have a dad like I do. If everyone had a dad like mine, the world would be a better place.
Oh my God.
Cheers to that, right?
Yes.
But you're empty, so we gotta fix that
so
immediately.
We'll fix it immediately. Yeah, I got you, boo. No worries.
Cheers, Dad. I'm sure you're probably watching.
Or later.
Or he'll see it later.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
If you don't know Idaho, my Idaho friends is streamed live through the magic that is Argos Productions. But if you want to catch our old episodes, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like the effing video. Thank you very effing much.
It's like you've said this before.
A little bit.
A little bit.
But yeah, here I am. Oh, but you should, the last episode that got into YouTube, I started the first 3 seconds with my voice breaking. Welcome! Like,
welcome to Jaime's journey through puberty.
Yeah. And Erica was saying yesterday, it's like, oh yeah, I guess we put this in the bloopers, but no, it's like the first 2 seconds of the episode.
Nice.
And I'm like, never mind.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. I could go on and on about my family and my dad in particular, so I appreciate you asking.
Absolutely. And, and before, because this is it, and now it's nothing but Unitedway. Trust me, you don't have to wait. I have seen you, the way that you handle yourself and the way that you behave, not just around, your kid, but when your kid's not around and you hold yourself accountable, to that image of just being the best parent that you can be, because there's no manual There's plenty of books about it, and there's just so much out there that is making you feel guilty, and the pressures of like maintaining a career and being part of the community and being like the mom or the dad, and also making sure that like your kids are eating enough vegetables and they're not watching enough TV and then they're putting on sunscreen. And like if you look back, you know, you and I were born what, 1980, 1981, and it's like, you know, like there's some food in the fridge.
Yeah, right.
And,
we're all alive.
Yeah, and we're all alive, and we're all made it. You know, nobody's attaching GPSs, you know, to the back of our necks yet. But yeah, you're doing a bang up job, friend.
Thank you,
so
friend.
you're an awesome mom.
Very sweet.
Way to go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
It's not easy to juggle it all.
Well, it's not, but you make it look good.
Oh,
You know, and I'm sure I don't just speak, you know, just. It's not just me. Chris thinks the same thing. Your parents think the same thing, and your daughter, you know, thinks the same thing too. So that's absolutely awesome. United Way.
Yeah.
Community engagement.
Yes.
The manager of. That'll be you. You see? You don't have to correct me
It was
again
good.
about
No,
it.
you did
Yeah,
that.
I know. I just nailed it down. Let's start, you know, so anybody watching, in the very unlikely case that they do not know what the United Way is, what is the United Way?
So I'm going to back up for a second. When I used to live on the bench, and United Way is right by the airport. And I started working there, and I was commuting 1.5 miles a day, which was awesome. Not the case anymore. I moved to Meridian, but that's another story. But I remember in my first couple of weeks of working at United Way, because everybody knows like the hand, right? The logo of the United Way hand. But I think because United Way, the work that United Way does is so complex, I think a lot of people don't have a very clear indication of what we actually do.
Right, their mission statement, the
Yeah.
vision. Yeah.
So I remember when I first started working there, I would go home, you know, 1.5 miles, and I would just think like, I cannot believe I live so close to the United Way, and I had no idea what this organization did. You know, so United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Worldwide, there are 1,800 United Ways. In Idaho, there are 7. And our United Way is United Way of Treasure Valley, that big coppery building by the airport. It's all mirrored and beautiful. And we serve 10 counties. That's kind of like the gist of what we do. How we do it is a much more complex picture. So you and I have both been involved with Boise Metro Chamber of Commerce.
A little bit.
And so when you go to an event, you know, oftentimes you like stand in a circle and everyone gets their 30-second elevator pitch, right? Anytime I think about that, I'm always like, oh God, I hope this is a long elevator ride, because the work that we do is so comprehensive. So United Way is a fundraising organization, and we raise funds to invest back into the community. We every 3 years we conduct a community assessment, and we also do something called an ALICE report. So ALICE is an acronym, and it stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. It's kind of a fancy way to say Idaho's working poor. And we know that 40% of Idaho lives at that level. So they are the people who do not make enough to make ends meet. However, they are quite possibly making too much to actually qualify for any services. So there's this big gap of people who are not getting the things that they need. So we really exist to help serve that population. So with the data that we collect from the ALICE report, the data that we collect from the community assessment, we are able to really hone in on what are the biggest needs in the Treasure Valley. So let's pretend that one of the biggest needs is access to childhood dental care. Nobody in our office is a dentist. So how do we do that? Well, we partner with an amazing local organization who has a mobile dentistry unit that can make the rounds to the various schools in town or in any of the 10 counties that we serve, and bring the dental care to kids. That's just one tiny piece of that picture. So all in all, we tend to grant out yearly about $2 million to fund various programs and organizations. It winds up being about 25, 30 programs about across about 20 to 25 different organizations each year. So our funded partners are amazing. They provide super valuable services, especially now in the time of COVID. We're seeing so much food insecurity. We're seeing the need for crisis intervention. We are seeing housing crisis, more and more families becoming homeless. We know that, access to, I was going to say early childhood learning, but learning at all right now is, so there are all these needs, and United Way exists to help fund the programs that are the organizations that are providing those programs. So that's one part of what we do. I mentioned the mobile dentistry unit. So that is actually part of something that we call the community school strategy. And so it's our belief, and we know this again because of data collection and a lot of that work that we do, that a lot of our schools have students in them who have barriers to success. So maybe they live in an area where they have to cross a train track to get to school. So transportation is a difficulty for them. Maybe their family doesn't have a car. Maybe there are no grocery stores in the place that they live. Maybe there are no health clinics where they live. So when we bring the resources needed to the schools, the dental unit, a health fair, a community garden, before and after school care programs, mentorship programs, English as a second language, parenting classes, when we bring those resources to the schools, the families tend to thrive a lot more than if we don't. And since the introduction of the community school strategy in 2014, we've seen 30 other community schools pop up here in the Valley, and they're all supported by the work that United Way does. I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. So we talked about Alice, we talked about the community school strategy, we talked about the community assessment. We cannot do what we do without donors and partners. We have some incredible corporate partners, companies like Albertsons, companies like Simplot, Citi, US Bank, St. Luke's, St. Al's. We have these amazing partnerships that have been in place for a really long time, and they have donated millions of dollars to our organization, knowing that we can turn that money around and really make an impact in our community. We do have a mini, like a food pantry and a hygiene pantry, and that stuff's really important, but it doesn't move the needle. It doesn't, handing somebody a snack pack to stick in their backpack because they're homeless is an important thing to do, but it doesn't fix the problem of homelessness.
Right, it's a Band-Aid,
But a full tummy is important. And so we believe in that work and we do that work, but we also know that we need to really address the issue of homelessness. So those corporate partners are really valuable to our work. But the bulk of our dollars come from people like you and me. I'm a donor. 100% of our office are donors. Every single person in our office donates to United Way out of their paycheck. So the bulk of our fundraising is from people like you. Every time you get a paycheck, a small portion of your paycheck goes to the United Way Community Fund. And because of that, we're able to fund, like I said, $2 million in programs and across so many organizations here in the Valley. So the work we do is incredibly comprehensive. We are trying to solve complex social issues. And we work in the sphere of policy systems and environments as well. A lot of people don't know that up until 2018, Idaho was the only state that had no breastfeeding legislation. So if you're a mom and you want to breastfeed your baby, I know you feel this because you have a wife who breastfed babies. And so if you're a woman breastfeeding your baby in the park in 2018 or prior, you could get cited for indecent exposure or public nudity or whatever they're going to cite you for. Because of the work that United Way did, we got legislation passed that says, no, that is a basic human right. You cannot get ticketed for feeding your baby in the park or wherever it is you choose to feed your baby. So we're also doing work like that. That's very important. And,
crazy impactful.
So our mighty team of 15 people is doing this, but we absolutely could not do it without our community members and our corporate partners. And there's never a bad time to get involved with United Way. Any time is the right time. Unitedwaytv.org is our website. We're incredibly transparent in our financials. Forbes named us the #1 nonprofit in the world in 2018 and 2019. So yeah. We heavily vet our funded partners, and we just, we have room for everyone. So if you want to get involved with United Way, we'd love to have you on board in one way or another.
Right,
So.
and that's really cool. I'm so glad that you closed down with that. No, not that we're closing just yet, unless Erica tells me that it's time to kick me out of the studio. But
The lady boss.
The lady boss, and Justin,
The man boss.
the man boss, and then there's me, of course.
I don't know.
Not the boss of anything.
You're the boss of that beer.
And that's it.
That's what you are.
That's it. Oh my gosh, it's the one thing I get. So yeah, there's the corporate level partnership, and then there's just like like you mentioned, percentage of like our pay goes towards the betterment of our community,
Yeah.
and that's something that everybody should be. Not necessarily feel obligated, but she'll feel good.
It's an investment.
And compelled to, because
Yeah.
it's an investment.
It's a worthwhile investment, putting money back into your
future.
community,
And this day and age when we're so incredibly polarized about a number of things, I like to have these conversations because it brings it back to the one thing that should be highlighted the most is how much we have in common. Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Gosh, I said it so many times, but I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot of the world, and most of it is just due to my time with the Marines. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Afghanistan, whether you're in Iraq, whether you're in Yemen, whether you're in Germany, whether you're in like Chile, Tierra del Fuego, Mexico. It just doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everybody has like the same thing, in common. Is that you want to be able to facilitate food for yourself and your family.
Yeah.
You want to
Basic
be
needs.
able to facilitate a roof over their heads, and you want to be able to facilitate safety.
Yeah.
And that's just a common thread.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's something, regardless whether you associate yourself with a donkey or an elephant and everything in between, and regardless of the climate and all the crazy things that are happening, I just really hope that sooner rather than later we start, focusing more on like so many more things that we actually have in common, and then the United Way and the work that you do, and all your efforts and all your sacrifice and the hard work that you put in towards this, and along with your team, it's just a reflection of that. So, cheers to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And of course, I'm so glad you brought that up, the moving of the needle part, because, check it out, Idaho, like United Way is doing a bunch of things. There'll be times where like, you need to donate some kids' books. No goodness, if your kid's like 12 and those kids are like the 5 to 6 year old level, you guys do a book drive. If all of a sudden, we need, like you mentioned, some hygiene products, because of course, surprise, surprise, I'm not a woman, but if you're out there and you're struggling and you're trying to get into shelters and you're transitioning from here to there, and then all of a sudden, you need a little bit of help and you cannot afford to go into a store or a pharmacy and buy what you need in order to, maintain your hygiene, that becomes, a big important factor. It's just like the very basics. Again, lifestyle and quality of life, and being able to help people, while they're down, to retain and maintain their dignity is a big aspect of that. And the thing that it pulls at me is because if they do not succeed, we do not succeed.
Right.
All right. When we talk about the work that, for example, like Catch Inc. does, and just
Who's the partner?
right there you go, and Catch Inc. They are out there. Their mission, their end state is to make sure that they just get rid of homelessness. Period. And some people consider it like fairly radical, but at the end of the day, it's like, no, man. Like if you are able to have a roof over your head, now all of a sudden there's a significant amount of pressure taken off of your shoulders.
Yeah. You can obtain the other services that you need by being housed first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're able to start taking care of other things, whether it's addiction, whether it's mental health issues,
exactly.
the ability to go out and reach out and get employed, and then be able to become independent, and then stay independent.
Yeah.
But all of those things are so much more difficult if you are not protected from the elements.
Yeah.
If you don't have a place in which you can like go, to the bathroom, and have a place where you can just sit down and just look around and it's like, okay, I'm going to be able to eat today. And it's, you know what, here's a place where I'm going to be able to lay down my head and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And gosh, I need to get somebody from Catch Inc. in here. It's all very, very important work.
Yeah. We talk about, what we do is really giving a hand up, not a handout. We live in a very just pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of a place. And it's not always that easy or that simple. So if we can get the people the basic things that they need to be successful, and then get them in the programs that can help them kind of get on the right path so they can stay there, that's a really important thing. And I think, Boise's kind of like this funny little, I don't know what the right word is, like utopia or something, but we have where it's so beautiful here and it's so friendly and it's so safe. And because of that, a lot of the problems are sort of hidden under all those layers. So one of the things that has been really difficult for people to wrap their heads around is that the new numbers just came out and we have some math to do to figure out the new numbers. But we know that up until recently, we had 4,500 homeless students in the Treasure Valley. Right. And people, their jaws drop to the floor because you don't see them. Where are they? And homelessness doesn't always look the way that you think it's going to look when you go to a city like Portland, Seattle, San Francisco. It looks different here. It looks like couch surfing. It looks like sleeping in a tent. It looks like sleeping in a car. It looks like staying at a friend's house and then staying at a different friend's house. So homelessness looks different here. And so, it's just, I think that people just kind of don't really, they're not seeing the issues because we have this beautiful kind of, I don't want to call it a facade like it's fake, but we have this beautiful exterior that makes it hard to see. Another statistic that I've always found to be mind-blowing, and again, with new data, we need to recrunch some numbers, but up until recently, we know that in low-income families, only 1 in 300 owned a book that wasn't a Bible or a phone book. Only 1 in 300 families owns a book, and that is also startling. Having access to books is one of the building blocks of an early childhood education. And so every year we do our book drive, and last year alone we were able to collect 110,000 books to get out to these low-income families and other various parts of our state who are in need. But we have so many opportunities for engagement, whether it's you're wanting to make a financial donation or you're wanting to donate time. Of course, it looks a little different now. Everything is a little more virtual than it's ever been before. But we have a place and a space for everyone at our table, and it just kind of depends on what do you want to do? What can you bring to the table? And
I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's where I was about to branch out to. Way to go. I almost screwed up this beer.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, yeah. And I appreciate drinking beer with me because I know you're a wine lady.
Oh, I like beer. I like beer a lot.
Know. We have drank before. I know. I get it. And people at home don't need to... they're shocked right now. I'm sorry, Idaho.
Setting such a terrible example for the youngsters.
What? Oh, stop it.
I'm drinking responsibly.
It's for a freaking great cause, too. City of Good. It's going to... Oh, man.
I love you anyway.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you letting me talk about United Way. I just, I also have to say that just on a personal level for United Way, nothing about the mission or what we do, I have to say I am so lucky to have an employer like United Way. So not only is our president and CEO, Nora Carpenter, the most amazing lady on the planet, my immediate boss, Robin Brown, is an amazing lady, the next most amazing lady on the planet. She's going to laugh at that, trust me. We have a great relationship. But United Way, we're all about people, right? Mm-hmm. We're all about supporting people. And United Way totally puts their money where their mouth is because they're so good about supporting their employees. So we're all working from home right now, although we can go in the office if we want. Mm-hmm. We're all very trusted to do the jobs we've been hired to do. I have never once ever had to miss anything at my daughter's school. Not a performance, not a show and tell, not and nothing ever, because I can just go and do that, and they support that. And, it's just a really wonderful place to work. And especially because there are basically two women leading the charge. And I think that that's amazing. I think we have these two incredible women with this amazing staff of support or support staff, and just kicking ass, here in the Treasure Valley, and not only doing such good work for our community members, but doing such good work for the people who actually work there. And I do really think that it's a testament to what we do and to how well the organization is run when I tell you that 100% of our staff members are all donors. We all up our donations every year because we believe in what we do. And like, how unfair would it be for me to come here and ask for a donation,
right.
but not be a donor myself,
Right.
like not believe in my own cause. And we all really do. And it's just, it's an amazing organization. I would encourage anyone watching to dig a little deeper, do a little research on our website, find out more about us, follow us. We're on all of the social channels. Unitedwaytw is pick your social channel, /Unitedwaytw. Follow along, get to know us, ask us questions. We'd love to have more people know who we are and get involved. So, yeah.
Calm the F down, Idaho. The links will be on the YouTube once we get it on the YouTube. Okay, don't worry. The information will be readily available, because all you have to do now is just click instead of looking it up yourself.
Easy.
Go subscribe to our channel, please. Speaking of, so on the corporate level and the individual level, we are apparently dealing with a virus and a pandemic and all this other jazz. How does one get involved? Okay, so, and yes, I get it, absolutely. On the corporate level, there's money.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that, because again,
oh, I will tell you about that.
Needle turning, but at the same time, for those of us, who are not at the corporate level, whether it's time, whether it's, again, books and packages and whatever it is, please tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so hang on to that, because I'm going to tell you something else first.
I'm doing it.
So
I'm hanging on.
When the pandemic hit, United Way was so uniquely poised to pounce on this. Our United Way CEO, Brian Gallagher, said we were built for this. And that is something that has resonated with every single United Way employee, because we really, really were. We're so financially responsible. we have people who are, our finance guy, Mark Nail, is amazing, and he has been able to put us in a position that when this came about, we did not miss a beat. We all were set up to work from home immediately. And what we saw was that our employees were just so willing to learn new technology and dive in head first, bumps and all, to keep our work moving forward, so that the families we knew were going to be in such desperate need could depend on the services that we were going to be able to help provide. So immediately we created a very robust resource page for anyone in the Treasure Valley needing any kind of service you could think of. We also created a PPE matching system. So we knew that there was a need for PPE and people who had PPE, and so we needed to bring that together. And how do you do that? So we created an online portal for people to say, hey, I need this, or hey, I have this. And then we had droves of volunteers coming out to help facilitate the matching of that PPE. The Idaho Community Foundation and the Idaho Nonprofit Center partnered with us, and we very quickly put together a grant process. Joyce Bailey at our office is an incredible woman. She helped put together this fly by the seat of our pants grant process, and to date, we've been able to grant out an emergency $2 million to various organizations in Idaho to keep the services that are most needed going, because we know that families are in crisis right now, and the last thing we need is, the suicide prevention hotline to go flat, right? We need those services right now. So we were able to throw $2 million back into the organization pretty much right away. But it was because of our partnerships with people like Albertsons, and because of our partnership with people like Pacific Source. Pacific Source gave us a donation, and we were able to leverage that donation with Jesse Tree and the Riverside Hotel and immediately house dozens of families immediately.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
So United Way was really kind of, obviously it takes so many so many people, but United Way is driving this bus to make these things happen. So you asked what people can do immediately, and we have normally at this time I would be thick in the weeds of flapjack feed, planning our flapjack feed on the basque block for 1,500 people, pancakes for everyone. You've come to see me 2 years in a row. And we can't do that, obviously. That's not a thing that we can do. So instead, we're going to be doing Days of Caring. So it's August 6th, 7th, and 8th. Unitedwaytw.org is where you can go for more information. And essentially, what it is, again, we have this matching system. It's what projects do you have that need to get done, and who wants to do those projects? So you sign up, one or the other, if you have a project. And we're looking for schools and nonprofits to sign up for projects that are needed. Like, I'm not going to come paint your house, Jaime, so don't ask.
Your husband is.
I know, my husband's going to do that. But then we have people who want to volunteer. And so you have until July 23rd to sign up. And then at that time, we're going to start matching the projects to the volunteers. And it'll be 3 days of caring, where we're going to have community members come out and do these projects. And it'll be a variety of things. It might be writing notes of encouragement to homeless students that we're going to put in snack packs. It might be fixing up some playground equipment. It might be painting the new counselor's office in a school. It's just a ton of different projects. You don't know what you're going to get. It's kind of a Russian roulette of volunteering, but a good way, in a good way.
Right.
No one's going to die.
No, like,
But yeah, so we've got that. I knew you'd love that. So we've got that coming up August 6th, 7th, and 8th. So the Russian roulette of volunteering. You can quote me on it.
Oh my gosh. This is like, oh, what's the movie?
We always have fun.
Yeah, we always have. What's that? Oh my gosh, what's that old movie? I mean, it's not that old. It's like 1970s. Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken. Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken.
Oh, that's Al Pacino. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
You might need to Google it.
No, I know it. It's I don't want to say it's The Hunter. Or, what?
Deer Hunter?
Deer Hunter.
I haven't
Deer
seen
Hunter.
it.
Russian
I need to
roulette.
put that on my list.
Yeah, it's you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. It's tremendously long, and there's this.
I'll probably love it.
There's this scene,
I kind of like gore. I don't like gory, but I like creepy thriller.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot of like, I mean, back then nobody was calling it PTSD, but it was like the whole thing. They come back from Vietnam and then go on this trip, and there's like tremendously long wedding scene. But then, there's always them coming back to their time in Vietnam, and they're doing like this whole like Russian roulette thing.
Oh, wow.
These red headbands and wearing a white shirt, and
It sounds really stressful
somebody's
to watch.
gonna die. Very.
Okay, so Days of Caring isn't that.
Right. It is the opposite, Idaho. Get it together. But great movie. Way to go, Erica. Our producer.
She needs to be on like a trivia team or something.
Point. Yeah,
I am not good at trivia.
That's okay.
Not good at it.
Erica is. Erica is good at many things. For example, roads to boats.
The king of the Segway.
Oh, gosh.
Very good.
No, I do what I can. So yeah, it is a shame that we're not gonna do the flapjack. So
I know, I love that.
So
So
for
good.
anybody watching that is new to Idaho and new to all the things, because if you're moving here during this environment, and I don't hate you, I just want people from Idaho to be able to have affordable housing. But
Yeah.
welcome to the town. I love you still.
Oh, and I've got like statistics to give you. I mean, I'm not going to give them to you now unless you want them, but I mean, we know. So when we were doing the community assessment and the Alice report, like the number one thing being mentioned across the board was available, affordable housing.
Yeah.
We know that is a serious pinch point here for us, and so United Way is, going to be one of the leaders in trying to figure out, what do we do about this? How do we fix this?
Right, and because for me, I mean, your space is so much more challenging than mine, and like what I do for like actual work that nobody cares about,
I know what you mean.
Well, thank you. But it becomes an issue, as people are trying to move in, because they want to be part of our community or lifestyle or quality of life, not just here in Boise, but throughout all of Idaho, And the major challenging with the cost of housing and how the numbers are just, I mean, how is it going to be sustainable?
Yeah.
for somebody that, 20, 30 years ago, their family's home passed down to them, for example, like in the North End.
Right.
I grew up in the North End after I migrated here, back in '94, and I lived with my grandparents and we were renting. But I had friends just like you, similar friends in common, and people that we don't know, from our time in high school in Boise High, and it's just really frustrating when all of a sudden you can no longer afford.
You can't afford where you're living.
The house in which like your grandparents lived, your
Yeah.
parents lived, and that's something pretty unique because there's a lot of that here in Idaho.
Yeah. So.
And, yeah.
So I'll tell you. I will
Please.
tell you a couple numbers. So.
As you should.
Fair market rental rates for a 2-bedroom in our area have increased about 20% since 2015, but inflation since then has been about 10%. So that means that most of these Alice families, the working poor families, they actually have less budget to work with. The number of households struggling to get by in Idaho went up 86% over the last decade due to rising costs and stagnant wages. And stagnant wages, speaking of that, minimum wage in Idaho has been $7.25 since 2009.
Yeah.
But a survival budget for a single person, you have to make just over $10 an hour. So there are all these factors that we all are aware of, and it's what do we do about this? And United Way is really committed to trying to help figure that out.
Yeah, and not to go into the politics of things, because that's not what we're here for, but that is my frustration. Right? Because there's a number of things that can change and be put in place in order for, I'm not saying that I have all the answers, Idaho, just settle the F down, right? You're like, oh, Jaime being
You're
judgy
so
again.
bossy.
Jaime's just being judgy and
was
trying
bossy.
to...
You're like
right,
bossier than I am.
leadership skills, all right? Leadership skills.
Leadership skills, I like it.
But there is just something to be said about looking at the bigger picture and just having some fucking empathy. Like, I'm not effing that one. It's just fucking empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
You should be able, to move here from Denver, from San Francisco, from Portland, from Seattle. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. We shouldn't be hating on you. And if somebody's doing that, then they're just being nasty and they're just stressed out. Don't take it too personal, please. But at the same time, there needs to be something done as far as like, the working family that, everybody's, well, you should just work harder. Well,
How hard can you work if you already have 3 jobs? Like.
Yeah, and none of them are paying you more than $10 an hour.
Right.
It's just math, and math doesn't fucking lie. The same way science doesn't fucking lie. Wear a goddamn mask. Anyway, but we're about kindness.
So I have a funny story for you.
Okay, please.
I'm going to turn this around real fast before we derail. Do it because I love you. So my husband and I were talking the other night, and we were kind of half laughing, half reminiscing. I shouldn't say half. A third laughing, a third reminiscing, and a third kind of like almost sad by this story.
We love accurate percentages.
I have to be accurate here. So when I was 25, I had a boyfriend that I lived with, and we lived in the Cottonwood Apartments, 3rd floor overlooking the river. We had a great apartment in Southeast Boise, and we broke up on our 1-year anniversary. Totally other different story that I won't get into. But the next day, I was like, well, I have to move out. So I get in my, what was I driving? A little Toyota Paseo. Get in my Toyota Paseo, drive around, looking for rent signs, driving by Boise State, take a left onto Manitou. Boom, there's a little house. It has a for rent sign in it. So I pull over, I call, I ask about the rent. It's like, $600 for the whole house. It's a whole house. It's a little 1-bedroom. The downstairs at one time was like an attached basement, but they like sealed it off and now it's its own unit. But I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. And they're like, great, we'll send you some paperwork and then you can fill that out and then just send it back in and then you can have the house.
Right.
And so a month later, I move into my house for $600 a month. And we were laughing, but also like somewhat crying about it because it did used to be that simple. You literally could drive around here in Boise, look for a rent sign, call, and get it. And it was just that simple, and it's just not that way anymore. No. And we are so concerned for the families who are being displaced. not only the families who were being displaced prior to COVID, but the ones that are now being displaced after.
Right.
It's such a stressful, sad time for so many families, and we really, want to do everything that we can to help them. But, it obviously entails everyone pitching in their support. So whether it's a one-time donation or a recurring donation of $1 a paycheck, like, it doesn't matter. It all makes an impact. It all pools into the community fund, and it turns into millions. It's a valuable thing to do. It's an investment in your community, and I hope someone today or someone's watching today will think about that and maybe want to take steps to make a recurring donation to the community fund.
Absolutely, and it just boils down to. Everybody loves using the analogy of sheep. You're being sheep. Okay, like right now, I have some dear friends that refuse to wear masks, by the way, and I get it.
I think,
and I get it.
We share some of those friends.
We both do, and that's fine. And I know I was cursing. I still love you a long time.
Shame on you for using the F word.
I know, but and I get it. And at least I can say this. They do not want to wear masks, but at least they don't go to businesses and give people that have to work there and wear a mask, a hard time. And if you're doing that, like, please just take a breath, just relax, and just, again, when in doubt or under pressure, try to be kind. With that said, the numbers, statistics, and everything else, when you start to think about, like, okay, there are all these people that were already feeling the pressure, the financial pressure, and they're just living paycheck to paycheck, which is not like an Idaho thing. That's like a country thing. Yeah. Okay, unfortunately. I wish, at some point in time, we just focus more on the local level and see what it is that we can do. Because, and I know I said it earlier, and we don't have actually, I know we've been talking for a while, and we don't have enough time to go as to how we're all connected, but it is truly indeed, if those who are having a hard time are not doing well, eventually we are not going to do well. Yeah. Your daughter might not do well. Your son will not do well. Your stepson. My children will not do well. You and I and Chris and Madeline. Like our families, and it's just having that perspective in which, like, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on, around the world, the whole freaking globe. But I hear in the local level, perhaps you've been sitting on the fence or been thinking about, what is it that you can do and how you can get involved. And, yesterday, we're having an awesome, impactful conversation, with Heather, about the Peregrine Fund. Today I'm just so happy that I am able to have this conversation with you about the United Way. And you cannot go wrong, but at the end of the day, this is the human factor and what's being affected currently because of COVID-19, because of pandemic, regardless of how you feel about current administration, political climate, and wearing masks and all these other things, people are hurting. And hurt and unfortunate circumstances do not care what color of your skin is, what the color of your skin is, and where do you work, and what do you drive, and what political leaning you might have. So at least here, we are so good, and we're a particularly unique area. And we're not perfect, and we have our challenges, and there's a lot of things, heaven knows, that we can all work on, but at the same time, there's a lot of good. We have a huge heart, as a community, as a city, as a whole state. So take a breath. Relax, which I know is very difficult, but just know and understand that, like, when it seems like it's so out of place and so far away from you, if you were to sit down and close your eyes and, say, well, what will happen to me? I didn't have my safety nets, my security, the support groups that I have around me, and if all of a sudden I didn't have the means to maintain a roof over my head, and if I didn't know how I was going to feed myself and or my family, next day or the day after tomorrow, or if I didn't have the ability to get my hands on the medications for my spouse because they're diabetic, and we all know the astronomical cost of just keeping somebody alive just because of diabetes, which is something that shouldn't even be an issue, but here we are paying astronomical prices for just maintaining our loved ones alive. And the list goes on. And I get it. You know, Jaime, you're going into the what ifs. But when you think about that, and if they're not doing well and they found themselves under these circumstances, the cop-out before the pandemic was, well, what did they do? Mm-hmm. Oh, they got a DUI.
Finding a way to blame.
You know, oh, like so-and-so like decided that they were gonna like be drunks, or that they were gonna be, you know, using drugs, and then, you know, there's an addiction issue and there's a mental health issue. But at the end of the day, they shouldn't have done that. You should have just figured out on your own. If I could do it, you could do it too. And I think it has become very apparent during this time that, unfortunately, just like nature, you know, you know, not going into the hunting thing too much, but like, you know, is indifferent to your suffering. And as far as the animal kingdom, but we are better than that. So we should not be indifferent to our brothers and our sisters suffering. And it doesn't matter, you know, where they come from. It doesn't matter what they look like. At the end of the day, this could be you. And if you can just take a breath, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what would I do? And then you start thinking like, oh my gosh, that I have all these resources. Well, once that comes to mind, take those resources out and then ask yourself, what can you do, or what would you do? So with that, we're gonna start closing up. Anything else that we might have forgotten about? Where should people go to? I would love to hear, you know, the www dot on whatever, or the phone number, or the address, not yours. She's taking, gentlemen. F off. And then I'll start plugging in all the other things.
Yeah, so I manage all of our social media. If you chime in on social media, I will be the one to answer you. So you are welcome to contact us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Like I said, it's facebook.com or twitter.com, and the backslash will always be Unitedwaytw. Our website is unitedwaytv.org. Yeah, so I would love to connect with anyone. You message me personally. I'm pretty sure you tagged me in some stuff.
Boom.
Message me on Facebook. I'd be happy to answer questions or help you dig deeper. I think, you know, when people make a philanthropic donation, they want to know where their dollars are going, and they want to know what their dollars are doing. And they want to know that the bulk of their dollars are going towards the thing that they want it to go to, and that it's not paying someone's salary. I would be more than happy to help you, however I can, feel more at ease, feel more comfortable with making a philanthropic donation, because we all work hard for our money. We want to see it doing, you know, the right things. And so whatever I can do to put someone's mind at ease, I'm happy to have those conversations. I'm very available.
Okay. Erica.
So I used to work for KTVB.
Uh-huh.
And
One of our other lovely partners.
Yeah. This is something that your viewers could do.
Yeah.
Each department, we would put together a basket of our favorite things, and then we would do the entire month of March, where any change that we had or an extra dollar, whatever, we would just throw it in the basket that we wanted, and like get raffle tickets, right?
Uh-huh.
We
That's so
raised
cool.
So much money.
Yeah.
We'd get a basket.
Yeah.
Of something cool that each department came up with.
Yeah, we have so many. We have about 200 organizations that do a campaign, so they're raising money for the United Way, and we see the most amazing, creative methods of fundraising. Last year, one of my relationships. The accounts that I help, don't call ourselves account managers. We call ourselves relationship managers, because it really is maintaining relationships.
Right.
And one of my accounts, they did a dog kissing booth. So everyone brought their dogs to work, and then you paid $1 to have your picture taken with your dog of choice. They raised so much money, like so cute. We've had chili cook-offs, and of course things are different now. There's going to have to be a lot of virtual or online opportunities, but you know, you can just be so creative in the methods in which you fundraise. And again, like, we're so happy to help you think that through. And if you want to be involved on a singular level, or if you want to be involved on more of a corporate or you know, organizational level, there's room for everyone at this table. So hit me up.
Absolutely.
I will answer your questions.
Wonderful.
That was my last plug.
All right. That is great. Idaho, way to go. If you're sticking around still, holy shnikes. Right?
It's like my dad and my grandma.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely not my wife because she's chasing my children around now that she's off work. I'm sorry, I'll be home soon. So again, big shout out and enormous gratitude to Argos Productions, Justin and Erica, who you guys do not get to see. Every once in a while, Erica will jump in and we always love it. But they're the ones that make all this possible. There's no way I could do it without them.
You could definitely not do this.
No, none of this at all whatsoever.
Not at all.
And like we were talking about, Erica, Roast to Bogus, her film, her t-shirt. Make sure that if you get on the old social media, because you're watching, so you're definitely in there, follow and like Argos Productions. They do great work. This is not the only segment that we have over here when we're going and streaming live Wednesday through Friday. So please support us, support the arts, support them, and they're just lovely people here, doing the very best when they can, especially during this environment. So please help a brother and a sister out. Also, make sure that you're following United Way of Treasure Valley.
Yeah.
Or if you're dyslexic like me, Treasure Valley of United Way. Either way, look them up, follow them. Make sure you're hitting Brittany up with all your questions, comments, concerns, and words of encouragement as well, because it's not easy work what her and her team are doing. Also, another shout out for to Lost Grove, City of Good. That is awesome. Again, geez, Luis, all the net process benefits, City of God initiative by Boise businesses and civic organizations to feed our community and put people back to work during the COVID-19 crisis.
Pretty awesome.
I think that's something that we can all get behind.
Yeah.
Again, if you like the content, even if we're not related, you should please look us up on YouTube, subscribe, like the video. We have some other content from before that is also equally awesome. Follow Brittany, the work that she does, and along with her whole team. And again, Idaho, despair not, for there's plenty of people out there looking at the sunnier side of life. I love you a long time, and when you get a chance, please get out there and be kind to somebody. Thank you very much, Brittany.
You're welcome.
I love you too, friend.
Love you. Elbow
You're
bump.
awesome.
Boom.
Boom. Idaho, stay awesome. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
Bye.